Dude, Ambro, you didn't even let me finish my start, man. Like, I didn't even get anywhere here. I'm still like breathing it out, and you come in with a sub and the bits and the hype, dude. Like, thank you, but there's a time and place. I'm like still in my mode here, just trying to see that out. This is the first time since the giveaway stream that I've done anything from this location, this spot here, besides the arcade. It's been a while. But Ambro, thank you so much, dude. Like, you said, yeah, I'll see if I can pop in. You didn't say you were just gonna kick in the door. like I'm just like, I can't just sit here and stare at my screen knowing that you're right there. No, I kicked down to OL. Okay, yeah, well, that's true. Like, we do. No, I mean, thank you, Ambro. Much love, man. How are you, dude? How you been? This is a little different because it's a much earlier stream than I normally do. This actually should focus more on what I actually do in my day-to-day. And I wish I could say, yeah, we're giving this a shot, because we are. And I wish I could say, like, oh, you know, it's just for fun, because it is. But as I've said several times before, I'm an artist first and a designer first. As much as I love the arcade, there's just a lot of things that thing cannot do. Not many, but there's a lot of things. So this is a big deal. There's no sugarcoating it. I am actually nervous. I trust the hardware. It's just, and I talk about art and my process of how I do digital art all the time. Like I go around, but it's usually in person. Like I have people in front of me as I go through this, you know. So this is something I think is long overdue. Is being able to explain what I do and how I do it, and just chat and talk with people virtually. So I'm doing good. I'm just getting through work and just enjoying the day. How have you been, my friend? I've been pacing. I've been pacing the house, man. But doing really good. In fact, I'm not entirely sure if this setup is actually ideal, because in order for me to read everything, I'm going to be looking away from the camera a bit. Granted, here's the thing. And actually, I'll just go over my setup. But, man, bro, I can't thank you enough, man. Thank you so much for the videos. In fact, I don't have my... I think the shout-outs are working now. The clips are working. So we are going to go... Ambro... I have a computer... This is kind of neat. I rely on the Stream Deck too much over there. I have a keyboard over
Tim
here.
Hortons is actually fucking delicious if you've never had it. And it's better than Dunkin' Donuts. Don't at me. Syrup farmers. $5 bills, I'd definitely make it. Oh my god! What the fuck? Dude, why is my thing like this? What the fuck? I come out and she's just flapping away. This is my pet, okay? This is my battle pet.
What game was that? ESO? It almost looked like World of Warcraft, but the details were too. And I've been out of touch on World of Warcraft for a while, so. But I'm glad I found out just like all day today, just until about like 20 minutes ago, I think, the shout outs were down. So, much respect to Twitch Guru. I know you guys have problems from time to time. I can't imagine the stress that you're going through. I don't even know if you're paying attention right now, but anyone who's out there who knows anybody with Twitch Guru, like, thank you. Like, we bombard your servers so much, you know. So I hope, yeah, hope you stick with it, because when it's down, yeah, it's a bummer. But so the clips is a lot of fun. In fact, because it's an art stream, I have a special one that I want a special shout out. Somebody very important to me. Anybody on the stream is very familiar with. And knows that I give a lot of credit to as an artist. We're gonna give a shout out to old Bobby Ross. Maybe. Playboy buddy, I take your alert. I won't be able to chat a lot with me working. You know, I assume that was the case. I assume that was the case. I'm just glad that you're here, dude. Much love. This is all for you. And I mean, I appreciate the, and I'll go into detail here about exactly why for everyone else. But first,
I get letters from people also say, it looks like it's so much fun beating that brush. They just went out and got a brush and beat on it. They don't paint. They just beat the brush and enjoy it.
That's Bob Ross. He's on Twitch. I mean, I know, obvi, it's not really. They're episodes of his from, you know, way back. But as you know, Bob Ross is a big deal to me. I have redemptions for him and everything. I keep Bobby Ross, keep good old Uncle Bob within arm's reach, pretty much everywhere.
Now then, let's wash the old brush.
Keep that devil out of it. Wait for it. Just beat the devil out of it. So obviously, Bob Ross is a big deal to me. And on weekends on Twitch, his camp runs marathons on Twitch. So he has an endless amount of clips and a lot of funny moments and clips and whatnot. I can shout out Bob Ross. If I could go back, if I could meet anybody who is dead, who passed away. I would probably meet him. And not just for my own personal reasons, but just to show him, like, okay, by the way, I just want you to know what you were doing in that little tiny studio, like, it's still relevant here. Like, look at this. like just letting you know, in case you give a shit. Look what has happened. Like, you're still a big deal. And you keep growing with you know, you're still so flexible. And so, anyways, I appreciate you guys humoring me. Speaking of humoring, have you heard the new Mortal Kombat theme song? Not the original. There's a new one for the new movie that is... They consulted with the Immortals for the first one. Techno Syndrome was the name of the song. Was the name of the original Mortal Kombat theme song, which everybody remembers and just loves. But... the composer of the new soundtrack for the new movie got with Techno Syndrome and made a new one, a dubstep version, so to speak. I thought I'd ask what you guys think, because I have it pulled up. We can totally listen to it, but if you hadn't heard it, give it a listen. It's worth a listen. I reserve my opinions, at least for now. So the reason we're here today is that one of our own, Playboy. Actually, let's get a shout out to Playboy. Fellow streamer, dude that I've known since I first started streaming. He's a friend of me and my boys.
You better not play a sound. That's not fair. I don't want to turn. Ah! Fuck! I'm dead. Son of a bitch.
Oh, that's creepy.
That's some bullshit. I can't get out the door.
Try it in VR. I know there's a little boy running around killing people, and I'm like scrambling for the door with my VR headset, and I'm just like, Only realized that the door opens in and not out. And I didn't realize that. The reason we're here is our boy Playboy has commissioned me for a couple of emotes. A characterized cartoon of him. A caricature. That's it. A caricature of him. In fact, he's got two that he has an idea for. So, during my week off last week, I had sticky notes with me. I always do. And in fact, most of my concept artwork that I do for most things are probably going to be on sticky notes. I mean, I have legit paper. All right. Okay. You know, sticky notes are everywhere. So I was doodling, and I came up with a base face. Like I came up with the base like setup that I'm going to use for Playboy. I have it pulled up. I have it scanned in, and I'm going to walk you through the process of how I go from like a rough sketch to like a digital face, and then from there I'll alter it into different. Basically, if he wants. The way I set things up like a puzzle. I build everything in pieces, and that way if anything changes or we want to later on come back and do a different version, it's all in pieces. It takes me longer to do it this way than just traditionally drawing it and coloring it and call it good. But I know with a lot of Twitch streamers and a lot of creators like myself and a lot of content creators, you have ideas that come like lightning. It just bam, 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 bam. Like, what if? Oh, what if? What if? What if? What if? I could do this? Oh, what if I could do that? Oh, if I have this, it'd be cool if I could take that and do this with it. Like, I know because I am one. So, in a lot of platforms like Twitch or YouTube or in a lot of branding, anytime somebody takes like a figure or a mascot of themselves, they're going to have so many ideas what to do with that character, that branding once it's done. Once it's in front of them and they see it, then it's like their brain just blows up. So I like to design things from the beginning. If I have the time, I like to design things from the beginning with other things in mind. Because I'm an illustrator from a designer perspective, if that makes sense. I like to draw cartoons and concept artwork, but with what if it was more later on? What if this was to be used as a logo? What if this was a t-shirt? What if this was a lunchbox? What if this was to be an animation? I want to be able, if I have the time, to set it up early as possible, so that anytime I go in and I don't have to redo everything, I can just take it and rearrange the pieces, make a new puzzle, you know? So it's going to take a little longer. It's probably not good. I'm not going to get both of these done. I'm probably going to get the base drawing done, and then I'll probably do another couple streams showing you, like, okay, this is the base, and then this is what I can do with it from here. So you can kind of get the progression of it. It won't take me very long, though. I know I'm going to actually be taking longer doing this because I'm doing it on stream, and I'll be explaining and talking and hanging out. So, Playboy, if you're in a hurry, by all means, you let me know. I'll have it knocked out by the end of the day. Like, that's no problem. But I saw this as an opportunity to kind of show some love to a community member, somebody who has helped me out a lot, somebody who's commissioned me for artwork already in the past. So, and I wanted you to have this kind of process in a VOD or something saved, like or even a time lapse of this, like, would be fun to have, right? So, anyway, Playboy, I appreciate you. Anyone else out there who is into streaming, just starting off, I have a working template for for a price sheet. Like, hit me up. Like, let's talk. I know it's crazy times. You know, people are thinking about themselves and what they can do and what they can bring and their own branding. And it's like, that's where I come in. I'm that guy that's like in everybody's pocket. Like, I have an idea, I can do that. So I'm that guy. Anyways. Yo, Ambro, much love. Oh, my boy, dude, I've been chatting this whole damn time, and I'm ignoring you. I'm sorry. My boy, how are you, dude? Here I am, just, yakking away. I'm going to shout out everybody, because I have a keyboard in front of me this time. My boy, let's get a shout out to my boy.
We got away. Was that the traffic? Oh! God!
Is it Linda?
Linda!
Fucking Linda. I knew it.
I'm trying.
Linda.
I'm trying to survive here. God dang it.
Linda.
Linda, listen, Linda.
You listen, Linda. I haven't seen Linda in a while, actually. It's my fault. I see her on, but I'm usually... I lurk a little bit, but I'm never around long enough to really start up a conversation. I hope you're well, Linda. If you ever see this, much love to Linda. Much love to my boy. Thank you for being here, man. We're playing during the day. Us night walkers are out in the sunlight. And you know what they say, I'm glittery. I'm pretty in the sun. Actually, no. You probably don't know this, but it's actually broad daylight outside. I keep this room dark. In fact, the lighting that you see, like all the purple lighting that you see on the stream and on the at my desk right now, I have that always. In fact, it's a little darker because I have that key light turned off. And I got my other light over there that I keep above the wall that shines down on me on the arcade. I keep that turned off. It's actually this dark all the time. Because fuck the sun. That's what I say. That's what I say. It's going to swallow us up one day anyways. The sun is going to win anyways, alright? So, no mercy, by the way. We'll probably be long gone. We will be long gone by the time it happens. But the sun will win, regardless. It doesn't care about my feelings, okay? So fuck the sun. Anyways. Enough of me rambling. Awesome to see everyone. Let us switch it up. I actually have keys now for this. Hold on. Yo! So interesting, because I actually set this up in a timely manner, and then I sat there twiddling my thumbs, like, okay, because I'm used to like having to balance and reconnect and connect and reconnect everything on the arcade just to make sure everything syncs and drives, and restarting everything, make sure everything, because there's a lot of hardware to balance, especially when it's a lot of hardware is not really meant to be streamed into one location and then broadcast. So I've gotten good at it. But with the desktop, I see why you guys do this. Like, I see why you guys, like, you know, all you people, like all the other streamers. I see why you do the PC thing. Pretty nice. Pretty. Anyways, so let's go over my display here. My setup here. So I actually have two monitors, left and right. I usually have like Illustrator and like vector programs on one side, and Photoshop on the other, or I'll have my vector setup and my animation software on the other side, so I can bounce between them. It's handy having two monitors. In fact, I actually have a third monitor right here. I don't know if you can see it. Well, no. But it's a 27-inch HD TV that I actually draw on. It's a Huion 27-inch. Essentially, it's a massive Wacom tablet that I can, that's tilted upwards. I draw on it with a stylus pen. I don't know if you see that. I draw on it with a stylus pen. That extra glow you see is probably from it. I even have a cool little glove. It actually came with the glove. This helps me keep my grungy hands off the screen while I'm drawing. You can make fun of me if you want, all Michael Jackson-y, but I remember Power Glove, Love Glove. I don't know what you want to call it. It's all weird. Everything's weird in art, okay? It's fine. But now I have this. Let's see if I can get an angle on it here. Yeah, you can see basically the back of it. But all of this here is basically just a monitor that sits up on its own. And here's my two monitor setups. Desktop that, you know, breathes like a demon. Now, of course, I shouldn't have messed with it, because now I can't get it back. Come on. Yeah, I shouldn't have messed with it. It's a very crowded room. Kind of like it that way, though. Give me a second. All right, well. Daggone. Anyways, so what I have is my drawing tablet here, and that's why you'll see me over here. And I have hotkeys over here. And what you see on screen is my actual drawing tablet. It's pretty simple. Huion is actually really, I spent $700 on this thing, and the alternative is like a Wacom, which can be like $1,200. Like, they're very expensive. No, I'm not gonna say they're not worth it. It's just there's a lot of options out there, and anymore, a lot of people are resorting to drawing on iPads. Like, there's a lot of iPad software out there that's giving Adobe and everything on desktop software a run for its money. I mean, it was only just recently that Apple was able to bring full-fledged Adobe products to the iPad on a mobile platform. They had watered-down versions of it that would communicate with your desktop apps, but it always took a desktop to run them fully. Meanwhile, Procreate, for a fraction of the cost, is running circles around Adobe's Photoshop. A lot of digital artists and a lot of digital painters use a lot of like free or virtually free software. They'll spend $50 and come up with some incredible art. And so if anybody is aspiring to be a digital artist, just keep in mind that there was a day where Adobe reigned supreme, and technically it does, but more out of reputation than practicality, cost efficiency. I have the entire Adobe suite. I learned on the Adobe Suite because it was the standard. Everybody required like use of the Adobe Suite, and I started with like Photoshop 7 is where I started. I cut my teeth on illustration digitally, and it's just odd, like how, you know, and I'm still invested in Adobe. I subscribe to them monthly because they did, you know, releases up until like CS6 or maybe CS7, but around that time they changed it to an online subscription, like a subscription service, a monthly sub service, which is fine. It was really how I could afford it. So I pay $50 a month, and I've got everything Adobe has ever done, and regularly updated, and it communicates. It's a good setup. It is. But unless you did artwork for full time and it paid for it, like, and you just wanted to sell art from time to time, sell prints from time to time, and you have an iPad, like, try Procreate or Sketchbook Pro. Sketchbook Pro is even available on desktop, and it's cheaper, and they run sales on it. Sometimes I'll just give it away for a weekend. So there's a lot of different options out there for any digital artist who's aspiring for it, who just doesn't want. You don't have to have this. You don't have to have the TV that you draw on. You know, in fact, everything that I learned in graphic design and illustration, I did with a mouse and keyboard because I didn't have a stylus. I ended up getting it in 204. When that got a little shaky for me, my father-in-law, who's also an artist, gave me his in 205, which was great. And those are tablets that you draw on, but it's not a screen. It's like one of those bamboos, but really fancy, where you draw here and you just watch it on the screen. And a lot of people don't like that disconnect. Some people get over it. It's something to get used to. It is an adjustment. In fact, one of my fellow artists in Clever Kaiju, who's a strictly traditional artist, inks and watercolors, and I think he's been doing some digital colors, you know, but he only just recently borrowed my Intuos 5 to try his hand at digital drawing, and he's great at it. He hit the ground running, but because traditional drawing will always be important, it translates over to digital pretty well now. There's still some kinks, there always are, but for anybody who's interested in doing digital art, it's extremely important to know that there are a lot of different options, and you can do it however you want. It doesn't matter, because when it comes to doing work for clients, if that's your game, if that's what you're wanting to do, no client I have ever worked for has ever asked me, hey, this is pretty cool, but what did you do this in? They don't care. Like, this is really nice, but where did you get your degree? I'm not saying a degree isn't important. If you have the opportunity to learn as much as you possibly can, whether it's in college or otherwise, absolutely take it. Absolutely. Is college necessary? That's a whole other conversation. That's a whole other rabbit hole. But I have some, and I'm not going to lie. It was valuable. It gave me perspective. At the very least, the networking side of things helps. But it is a talent-based field. So if you apply yourself, there's nothing that you can't do on your own that some, you know, scholar had learned in school. It might take a little longer. It might take some weird, different ways of doing it. But I have never been asked, where's my degree? I have never been asked what programs I'm using, unless I need, so long as it's saved in the format that they need to do what they do with it from there. And they don't care what program that is. They just care about, like, is this an EPS file? Is this vector? Is the biggest question. Is this vector file? Yes. I never had to worry about, because it's like, it's an Illustrator file. And to the industry, because again, Adobe is the trendsetter, is the big daddy, right? Everybody uses Adobe. So if I tell them it's an Illustrator file, they immediately assume it's vector. We're good. And they move on. But here I am yakking. This is the sort of world that I live in. This is my day to day. This is in whole Mammoth Press LLC. The arcade, like, the arcade is cool. I love the arcade. Don't get me wrong. But this is my jam. And I'm gonna keep messing with this thing. Frustrating. Whew. That's good. So, back to the jam here. Okay. So what I have here, and I'm actually going to be using my mouse for most of this because this is how I learned. This is what's easier. In fact, I need to get rid of the glove because it's weird to hold a mouse with it. Okay. So, what's important here is that what you have is like what we have here is the base sketch. This is the doodle. This is the doodle of our friend Playboy. Okay. It's a sticky note. It's a pencil drawing. I scanned it in on my scanner. Doesn't have to be that crazy. It just gives me gives me the basic shape and form that I'm gonna build on, and because I'm gonna be changing a lot of things anyway. But that's our boy right there. And over here and under layers, still layer 1. It's always good to name your layers. Now, this is not advice that I take very well of my own. I need to. But what we're going to do is this is going to be the onion skin, so to speak, the image that we're going to be basing all our line work off of. So, being at the bottom, we're going to keep it at the bottom. It's the only thing right there. So we're going to create a new layer. I'm going to call this Playboy Lines. Playboy Lines. Alright. And this is the layer that we're going to do our line work on. And I'll show you how we do that. But we got the sketch layer here. We are going to bring the opacity. Here's our opacity right up here, which is actually behind. It doesn't really help you any. Hold on. So opacity settings for this is all up in here. What do I have back there? Oh, I have something else open. Okay. Oh, that's my sketch. Okay. Apparently I got a lot of stupid crap open. Okay, so we're gonna take this. We're gonna turn the opacity on this layer down to about like, I don't know. That's probably about 35%. It doesn't really matter. Just so long as it's thin enough, like light enough that you can see whatever you're doing on top of it. You can still see it clearly for reference. You're basically tracing this. So it's an onion skin that you trace on. So we have the opacity brought down so that it's faint, but we can still see it. And we're going to lock that layer. We're going to lock that layer right there. What that means is we can't mess with it. And it's important because I don't know how many times, and this happens to me all the time, and I'm a professional, right? There are people who do this for a living, and they say, name your layers. You know, don't draw on the wrong layer. If you could just Google it. And there's entire memes, there's an entire, like, subculture of people that just keep messing up the golden rule. Don't mix your layers. Because you get halfway through coloring something and you realize, holy crap, I've been coloring on the line layer, right? It's like, do you merge them at that point and just continue on and just change your process? Or do you go back and start over? Do you delete it and start over? You know, it's like, so sometimes you just kind of get used to it. It gets frustrating at first, but it's like, oh, awesome. I've been coloring on the line layer this whole time. But at the same time, if it looks good, screw it. We'll just merge them. Staying organized was a good idea at the time, but now, but we're going to try and keep it as organized as we can. So, label your layers. So, Playboy lines, there will be 2 additional layers. And there's in a certain order, because think of layers as like you've got this on top of this, on top of this, on top of this. So the way the base kind of setup I have is I have the base sketch that I'm going to be doing the line work for. So even though the line work, so you got the line, which is going to be deleted anyway. It's going to be hidden eventually. So then you have the flat colors, right? And then you have the shade of those colors, and then on top of that, I keep the line work. If that makes sense. There's a way that it's kind of sandwiched together. Because if you break down, you got the lines, and then you've got the shading, which is on top of shading, highlights, shading, and I usually add highlights later on, like if I really feel they're necessary. They're not always necessary. But I do flats, shading, then the lines. Kind of a Playboy sandwich, so to speak. So, we got the base sketch here at the bottom, and that will always stay at the bottom. It's most important, and it's locked, because we don't want to mess with it. We don't want to draw on it. We don't want to get anything messed up. This will be flats. Let's call it play. It's Bubbles. What's going on? Hello. Welcome into the stream. This is the first Mammoth Press art stream, and I'm kind of going through the very initial setup of most of these documents. It goes a lot quicker than this normally. I usually don't have to explain it, but this is fun. This is good. It actually kind of reteaches me things that I need to pay attention to, like remembering to label my layers. So this is Playboy flats, and then I know this one will be Playboy shade. Now there's no Playboy shade here, not yet. It's Bubbles. How are you? Let's do a shout out for Bubbles, because I got a keyboard and I can just sling them out like crazy. Oops. Yeah, it's Bubbles. Get you a shout out. I know I haven't seen you very much. I've had really early nights. I haven't actually been able to hang out with you. I hope you're well. That was short. Was it normally that short? Let's do another one. Let's do another one. They just got their stuff. They just got their stuff kind of back up and running. So I don't know if it was really that short or.
I need to switch to my other motherfucking chair because my ass hurts. Cholo died today. Yeah, he died today.
I hear you. I'm right there, Bubbles.
I can't help that you suck. No, I'm just kidding.
I actually have no idea how long you've been in chat. I'm so sorry if I've been rambling, but
Cholo never gonna care.
I get lost in the explanations. So here we are. We got the lines, shade, and flats. So we won't need these yet. So I'm going to lock those as well. Playboy lines. This is where the inking, so to speak, comes in. You got the base pencil sketches, you got it set up, you got the base outline of what you're wanting to do. And this isn't permanent. Some of these features are going to change. But the main setup that I use for inking, and you can do this in two different ways. I can choose my line tool, and I can set my custom shapes and tapers, because every line you make and every stroke you do in Adobe, you can alter and change. You can taper the ends, you can reshape you can scale them, you can mess with them, you know. What's important though is that's handy. I can do that with my hand, and I can do that here on the screen with my pen, and I have it set up to where pressure sensitivity, the angle of the pen as I'm drawing, is considered. The pressure is certain lighter or heavier flicks will generate different results, and I have that set up. It took me some fine tuning to get it there, but that's not necessary. That's part of my style when I hand draw. But what I want to show you is actually just using a mouse. Ways that you can create really cool art in Vector, which, by the way, Vector is the file format, or is the format of the artwork compared to pixel art. Side by side, you've got vector art, like vector programs like Adobe Illustrator, which is what I'm in right now, that will create artwork and shapes out of lines and lines and dots, so to speak. Points is really what they are. So if I were to, there's a dot, there's a point, there's a point, there's a point, there's a point, and then connect it all together to make a shape. Okay, this can now is not made of pixels, because in normal traditional art or digital artwork, it's made of a series of pixels packed together to make an image. Basically, countless smaller images packed together to make one big image. But if you stretch that thing out too big, that image too big, those pixels stretch with it. And unless it's a really high resolution, you'll start to see what we call pixelation. which is why you cannot take something as small as a stamp and stretch it as big as a bus without it getting garbled and messy, because there are limitations in what they call raster artwork when things get rasterized. But with vector, it's different because it doesn't use pixels. It uses points and segments and for its shapes. You can go as tiny as a stamp or as big as a building, and it will not lose. You see, when you look at the edge, when you look at that edge, no pixelation whatsoever. And it's really handy because it's that kind of format, that kind of art format that that a lot of printers need for certain things. For example, screen printing t-shirts or vinyl cutting or anything that requires cutting out shapes or creating shapes for print. They're going to ask for vector format. That's why Illustrator and Photoshop are so different. Photoshop uses pixels. Illustrator uses vector. Now, I'm not saying that you can't take a picture. Now, you can take a picture in Photoshop that's already as big as a bus and bring it down to like the size of a stamp. Absolutely. You can always scale down. But you can only scale up to reasonable degree. So anytime you get artwork and you know what size it needs to be in, if it's pixel art, if it's going to be a Photoshop image, draw it at size. Or, ridiculous resolution, which you can, but it's going to be really heavy on your RAM. And that's the other really important thing about vector, is that because it doesn't use pixels, it doesn't have to process smaller pictures packed together to make bigger pictures. It's a lot less stress and a lot less resources to generate, which means your files in vector are significantly smaller than your typical like Photoshop type files. I can do I've done a full Potbelly Mammoth comic strip in in vector, entirely in vector, that took less than 2 megs. Meanwhile, now if I take that file and I turn it into a JPEG, suddenly it rasterizes it and it completely defeats it. But again, that's another rabbit hole. But vector is very powerful because vector is understood by a lot of platforms and a lot of printers, and even all my animation work, which you can use rasterized images, you can use Photoshop images, but having everything built in like a puzzle in vector and keeping it so flexible from the beginning, again, if I have time to do it, is worth all the things we can do with it after. Because everything I do here, I can turn this into an animated cartoon later on, and I won't have to mess with it much. It'll just take me longer to set it up in the beginning. And that's kind of the world of art. If you have the time to set it up, and you take the time to set it up, it'll be worth it later. So, it's Bubbles. Thank you for being here again. Everybody, I really appreciate everyone being here. I know this is kind of a little test. We're just having some fun. And you're probably ready for me to get started on this. And I'm sorry for rambling. But there's just a lot of... This is what I do, and it's fascinating to talk about. So it's like I feel like everything I talk about has like years of backstory that needs to be explained. If you just want me to shut up, just let me know. Anyway, so I have the sketch layer down here. Well, we have the onion skin. We have the Playboy's flats and shades, which I don't need yet. In fact, I can even hide them, but it doesn't really matter because I have them locked. I'm not going to draw on those. I do have his lines. Now, I'm not going to use my stylus on here yet. I'm going to actually do his line work with just a keyboard and mouse using the Illustrator pen tool. And this is important because I know a lot of people who are familiar with these tools and familiar with the Illustrator hate pen tool. But I argue that maybe you don't really understand it. It's an incredibly powerful tool. It is so handy. Like, I spent when I was in a design, when I was designing for an actual company, we never used a stylus or anything. We didn't need it. It was like vector artwork with a mouse. You just kind of get comfortable with it. And really, and that it's a matter of preference all around. But I'm going to show you with just a mouse, how we're going to do line work based on what we have here, using points and lines. So the Illustrator pen tool, I was fortunate enough to learn, and I had a whole class, Graphic Design 101, so to speak, where my teacher explained that the pen tool is basically pen tool 101. The entire class was, this is how you do all these crazy things with the pen tool, pretty simply. And you got to get used to it. You're going to use it a lot. Whereas I know a lot of people who went like through like full-on art degrees doing graphic design where they're like, wait, I wish I had a teacher that did that. Because they didn't learn like pen tool as thoroughly as I did in the classes I had. So let's play with the pen tool. How about that? So we have our onion skin. Again, it's locked, so we don't draw on it. And I have this layer selected here. This top layer is our line layer. And we are going to draw our boy Playboy. So, with the mouse, you click one point, and then you click the next point, and you get a straight line. Okay? So if you were to start clicking other points, as you can see, it'll fill in the gaps. And then you can change that from either fill or a stroke over here. Fill, stroke. So with that in mind, with that setup, we're going to start here and then point here, but I'm going to click and hold it, and I'm going to drag it out, because while you drag it, you get these cool handles, and you can flex it out. See? So that's pretty much the basis of this whole step. Now I'm going to turn this into a stroke instead, because I don't want it to actually fill over what I'm actually drawing on. So that, and I'm just going to do this for the whole thing. This is probably getting a little boring. So now is the time where you guys can, you know, go get a beer. Actually, it's like 2 in the afternoon. Look, I don't judge. You do what you do you. I have to get kind of close too to see. How are you? What's wrong? Yeah. Mrs. Mammoth is joining us. She normally dwells downstairs nowadays, but she's coming up here to hang out with us. I gotta decide how I'm gonna point that, because I kind of drew it off the edge. You just make your lines, and if you need to curve it, hold it down. And then later on, and this is the great thing about it, if you take your selection tool, your white arrow, this is your general selection. But if you take your white selection tool here and click on a point, it'll give you these little arrows. So even if you already made the line, you can change it later at any time. Because it's not like an ink line, it's not like a pen. So all of this, everything you make can be changed. It can be like messed with, which is again why I love vector so much. In fact, this is going to be the very principle that we do everything from here on out when it's finished. Now I'm going to do some general squiggly lines and whatnot. I'm probably going to get rid of a lot of these anyways later on once it's gonna make this up for now, because everything can change. Nothing is permanent. I'm gonna feel like as I get towards the bottom of this, I'm probably gonna disagree with some of this, and I'm just gonna go back and change it, because you can. Because what's important is not, you don't have to nail it every time, you know, like you're gonna spend so much time nitpicking the details that it's always far more important to just do something than sit there and do nothing. So, and in this format, this style with this tool, you can do all of that now, and then be like, nah, I don't like that, and then just change it later. Or maybe he'll love it this time, but then later on, like, the client will be like, you know, this is really cool, I like this, but I have this other idea. And you don't have to completely start over and redo it. You can just go back and just adjust it. It's one of those work smarter, not harder kind of things. Plus, it's really cool when you have a client that asks you to do something, especially something that they're invested in personally, and they see it in front of them for the first time, and I don't know, it's kind of an emotional experience for them, like to see their thing in front of them, right? Naturally, that's going to spark an incredible amount of like other ideas. Like, it's just natural. Their brain just suddenly, they're the most creative person you've ever met. And digital artists, yeah, we're creative, sure, but you know, when it comes to design and branding, it's not about us. So it's like, you get conversations where it's like, you know, just be creative. Like, okay, like, thank you. I understand what you're saying. You don't want to step on my toes as a creative genius. I get it. That's fine. That's respectful and that's cool. But keep in mind that it's not about me. I have plenty of other means to be creative. Oh. Playboy. What happened? What did I miss? Oh, I see. Okay. Playboy, buddy. Thank you, my friend. Working and lurking, sniping dudes out of my, sniping bots out of my chat. Thank you so much, man. I was starting to get a little paranoid. Like, I haven't had bots in a while. I wonder if I'm doing something wrong. They wanted your OnlyFans. I don't blame them. But I reserve that for my real fans. And it's probably just more dog pictures. Only feet, and I missed it. I mean, I got my moccasins on. Not that great. Chef Boy, how are you, mate, dude? Excellent to see you, man. This is interesting, being able to just casually hang out at the computer and talk to myself. It's different at the arcade because I have all these other cool lights. It's like distraction, video game. Let's give a shout out to Chef Boy. It's kind of, like I said, I kind of see why you guys like doing this, because you have a keyboard.
Chili's the best. I make it
right
every
here.
day. I have some in my freezer. I got some boiling in the crock pot right now. Tell your friends. The Chef Boy OG always has chili on it.
I think that's the only clip it pulls. Like, they say it's at random, unless you deleted every other clip. Like, that one always pops up. Chef Boy OG always has chili. You should be Chili Boy. Chili Boy OG. Awesome to see you, man. How are you, dude? So I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna give another shape, entirely a different shape, to his little duck poop. Because, Playboy, you have a little duck poop. I don't know if you noticed that. And I noticed this more when you have your haircut, like, it's all lean and slick, and then it just, like, your faux hawk just goes boom, like, it's, you know, it's, so that's kind of what I'm basing this off of. But I want it to be a little shaggier, a little messier, because I don't know, it kind of puts a little bit of attitude in it. But more importantly, there are reasons why I'm making a choice to put more of a pronunciation, so to speak, to make your duck poof a little more pronounced. So don't be offended. But I'm going to be able, if this ever becomes a character that I can animate, or I can make a puppet of, for, let's say, like, alerts, where you want like yourself as a cartoon to be all like boom, or you know, like shift, like animation, doing facial expressions or whatever. As you shift around, I want that little piece of hair, that little spike on top of your hair. I want that to like shake around and move around, and I can do that in my animation by adding like weight. I can add weight, and if I make every little detail its own specific puzzle piece, I can edit it separately on its own without messing with anything else. So I can make that puff like move and shake and independently, like its own little body part. So, and these are just things that you learn as you play with the programs. You know, I think there's a lot of things like Mammy's ears. I designed Mammy for animations, and then actually I don't know if I like that shape. What was I doing there? What was I thinking? Oh, okay. And that's something that we can do later on. And if you make that choice, and there's no way you wouldn't want to, right? Like if you had the means to do it, why not? So this is why I'm taking the extra time, because I know you're really gonna like it. And this process, I do it all the time anyways. And normally, like, here's the thing. I normally knock our artwork like this within a few hours. These emotes will take longer because I won't shut the hell up and I'm live. But but I figure that this is something I want you to have. This is something you're helping me out because I'm doing live streaming for the first time as far as with artwork, which is important to me. And you're kind of my guinea pig as far as content, so hell yeah. So this is like, basically consider this like the biggest fun fact I have ever dropped on stream. And I'm just making stuff up, like I said. None of this matters. I mean, it does matter. But, you know, nothing is permanent. It can just change. I'm just kind of making up, I'm making up lines that aren't even there. Because, to be honest with you, this was a week ago when I doodled this, and I have no idea what the hell I was thinking. I know what I like. You know, I like it. But, it's like, nah, I'm going to change my mind. And I'm probably going to regret some of it. So... But that's art, right? I'm just making up, and that's the thing. This line work also. Once all the line work is done, I have global settings that I can apply to the lines to change the art style entirely with like one click. So right now, I'm just getting the lines in. Is all this is about. And if it looks like I actually have a plan, I have a big picture. I have an idea of what I know this needs to be in the end, but I keep it vague enough to where I'm flexible to be like, oh, that's cool, or actually that's cooler than I thought it would be. So, or that's bad but good enough. No, I'm just joking. Okay, so no, actually, as I was talking, I should have done something different. Hold on. I want this to be its own piece. So what I'm going to do, because again, oops, we messed up. I'm going to have to delete this whole line. Nope. I'm going to add a point, basically the same points I've been dropping to make these lines. I'm going to add a point already on the line, right? Bloop. And then with my white selection tool, because the black selection tool is going to select this whole thing. Right, it's going to select the whole bit, and it'll show you what is considered the whole piece. So what you have highlighted in red, that's all one piece. Now, because it doesn't directly connect with another point here, this is a separate piece, which is fine. We're going to change that. So I added a point here so that I can go into my selection tool, and instead of selecting just that whole line, it's going to select just this section of it here. I'm telling it, yeah, you select it, but very specifically that. I'm going to delete it. Then I can grab that point that's there, and I can drag it anywhere I want. just drag that thing. Drag down there. I'm going to connect it to this. And when it turns white, that's how I know it's connected. So I'm going to keep that little duck poof as one piece. Now, because it's still not directly connected to this, I'm going to select both of them and join. And it's not going to let me do it. I was wondering. Because Adobe! Remember I told you I was going to swear at Adobe a lot? Oh, that's just one of the reasons. Alright, so that segment and that segment. Yeah, those are two separate paths. Okay. Maybe. Okay. Alright, so it wants to be picky. It wants me to... Okay. Well, I don't really like how sharp that is. So there's actually a tool over here called the Smooth tool that will take this selection and it'll add points to smooth it out. I'll go a little better than that. There we go. Yay! Alright. So essentially these... That... This... If I group that, I wonder if I can... okay, so there are some segments that need to be connected. And it's no big deal. But it's all grouped. It'll work out. Because it's separate. It's still one separate piece. See? So I can drag that anywhere I want. But because I'm going to be putting color underneath it and shading, then I'm going to group all of those together, and I'm going to have these as a completely separate body part, basically. But yeah, look at that. Pretty wicked, almost Super Saiyan duck poof. Am I right? I got a meeting to attend. I'll be back. Oh, totally, man. Enjoy your meeting. That could have probably been settled in an email. Listen to me. I'm so corporate with my jabs.
Well, if you're wondering what's happened, the computer that we have used from time to time.
Meanwhile,
So what we're
you know, the corporate one of us over there just shaking red. We're gonna circle back and touch base. So how are you, babe? You all right? What brings you up in our neck of the woods? Oh, that's right. That's a good point. So is it how is it? Because you mentioned even before, every now and then you're going to feel like coming up here and hanging out with me.
Yeah, now that I realize you got rid of all my stuff,
I did not. You took all of your stuff. I've actually added more stuff. Oh, yeah, I did do that.
Yeah.
But you knew that. You were there when I did that. You gave me that monitor. Yes, you did. It was, until I mounted it permanently to the wall. The monitor is still very temporary. We can just go get another one if you want. If you want, I'm just saying. I thought you were going to bring up another monitor.
That is nonsense.
Well, there's solutions to everything, babe. And I appreciate you being. I figured you did. I didn't fall down that one yet. I hadn't, because the button on the to bring the seat back is right there on that side, so I could just.
Yes, but I had to go into the settings and turn it on so that I could program did that.
Right.
Also, I really needed to stop connecting to your computer. Your
Nope.
phone's not more important than mine.
You sure about that?
Yes.
So this is the moment where or one of those times where, you know, the wife bought a new car. It was actually kind of my dream car from for the last couple of years. A big old Yukon, a big old truck, right, or SUV, right? Because I'm a big guy, and well, we started talking a lot about different things that we'd like to do. And it just actually became more practical for us to get a bigger vehicle because we have a smaller vehicle for gas mileage. So it was a very proud moment. I explained it in last night's stream. It's just one of those moments where you see somebody who's worked our ass off so hard, who really started off in the bottom just because she got screwed over, and she worked her ass off to fix it, and now she's, I don't know, it's just a powerful thing to see. I don't know if you ever bought a car, but a lot of salespeople like to just look at the guy and only talk to the guy. You know, like, how much money do you make? Let's see your credit. And she's over here like, who am I? Chopped liver? Like, it's happened before, and it was frustrating. Not this time. This time, we were prepared to be like, no, dude. And I'd say that they did a great job. Would you say, in your opinion, they did a good job? Like, they did not defer to me. They did, because I have the penis, I must have the money and the credit. Nope. Quite the opposite. I mean, I do. I do. I have both. But what's important is that the moment that they heard that this was her car and this was her deal, this is what she was doing, they deferred to her entirely. And that was, I came in as you were raiding. Chef Boy, I'm sorry. I was actually on time with the raid. Actually, my gameplay actually worked out pretty well. Oh shit, I'm glad they treated you well. Like, right, yeah, see, like that's, and we've never really been, like, I've never been mistreated because I'm a tall white dude. I'm pretty, you know, like I guess in that right I have that privilege, but like it wasn't really until the last vehicle that we bought that I realized just how skewed that conversation can get. Like, it wasn't something that we flipped tables about or anything, but we noticed. And so this time around, you know, I was like, look, we need to be, if we have to be assertive. Like, this is not my jam. Like, I'm a part of it, you know, like I'm part of the team, right? But when it comes down to it, like, you're the one that you've earned this. You're the one that's doing this. And I don't know, it was a nice relief. They were pretty respectful in that regard. That's pretty neat. Okay, so this line is bothering me. I'm probably gonna do. I'm gonna come back to this line because I can do his brows separately. So I can mess with the eyebrows and the eyes and change the expression independently from the rest of the face. So I'm probably gonna do that. So for the sake of the head, I'm just gonna stick to the head now. Because that's pretty much not going to change. I can add flexors and I can add like little modifiers to it, but essentially, I'm gonna work on the head. Get these another defining feature of Playboy. I don't know if he knows this yet. Got them cheeks, not goatee. That sharp goatee and little cheeks. Dude, please, no offense. It's just these are the things that would go through our head. Like, this is, you know, we have to find defining features about them that make them them. You got that cool, sly look in your eye, right? You got the cheeks and the sharp goatee, and cool in the poop in the head up top. So there's a lot of people that probably get freaked out about artists and illustrators that, you know, like, oh, he's checking me out. Are you looking at my girl? Like, no. I mean, yeah, but I'm looking at a character type. There's actually been a time where I was accused of looking at someone's girl, and my own dad was with me, and he goes, actually, no, I think he's looking at you. And it's true. It's true, I was actually I was watching how he walked, because it was interesting. Because we were commenting about it. Like, we were coming up with a story as to why he walked that way. Because, you know, if you don't know, just make it up. A little bit of a jawline. Now, I might soften this out, and I might redo this line. But again, like I said, nothing is permanent. It might be a little too jarring. Maybe this line is a little too round or too long. So I can bring it down to here so it's not as pronounced, and I can scope this line just a little bit more to, yeah, actually I kind of like that. I like that better already. See? You see? You see something you don't like? Just go in and change it. Doesn't matter. Just like old Bobby Ross says, and you heard it plenty of times. No, I'm not going to put a big old tree right there, but, you know, I could. I can do whatever I want. I don't think it will really be, I don't think it would be very conducive to what he's wanting to use these for, but if you don't like it, change it. That's why I love Vector. I don't have to grab an eraser and redraw it. I don't have to grab, and granted, yeah, you know, digital, with digital, you know, if you don't like something, just Control Z. Delete it. But, you know, and Connell being a digital painter, he'll probably, you know, if you ever talk to him about his artwork, really talented dude. Does a lot of, like, environment, like, concept art, and I think he's got some, he's a big DC fan too, so he's got some Superman work. Very talented dude. Anyways, what I was saying about the car is that, you know, sorry, I got derailed. So what I was saying about the car is that, you know, there's certain features that, like, oh, hey, that's cool, this is her car. But yet, you know, I connect my phone to it, and the whole car's like, nope. Like, it ignores everybody else's. So, like, she thinks I do it on purpose, probably. Like, I'm hijacking all your vehicles with my phone. Probably because it's Android. It understands it better. It's like, oh, Apple. No, thank you. Your silence is confirmation. Okay. Alright, so this is going to get a little sharp if I just go with the natural curve of it. So I'm going to go... Yeah. I'm going to go sharper with it. We'll do... Granted, I'm not really like trying to nail any specific feature of his actual ear. This is kind of like a default ear. And the reason why is because this, when I was coming up with ideas, I was watching his stream and I was looking at his features from stream. And he has headphones, so it's not like I know what his ear looks like. So if this is wrong, if you have like a dog bite, chunk taken out of it, I mean, let me know. We can fix it. Because look, nothing's permanent. You see what I mean? Are you getting it? We can change everything. Alright, so we're going to smooth this out a little bit. Not with that tool. We're going to go back to that smooth tool. We're going to select all this. It's a little sharper. Easy peasy. Exactly. And again, like, you know, it takes setup. It takes time to build it this way. But if you're paranoid about things changing, which is something that a lot of artists are, and even I am, and within reason, they expect clients to be like, that's cool, but can we do this instead? Or, you know, within reason, they're going to be accommodating. Any artist will tell you, like, okay, but they even define limits as to, okay, we're reaching the point where we're pretty much redoing it, and I'm like, I've already put this much time into it, and they have to negotiate the cost, you know. But and even in this process, there's within reason, you're still going to have that. But I like the idea of, the way I see it is that all of this is going to inspire other ideas later on. People who were not really idea people before are suddenly going to become idea people when they see something they are invested in, like, come to life. And it's surprising, because you can be an incredibly creative person and not be, or have an artistic bone in your body, so to speak. And I think that's really valuable for people to learn about themselves when they realize, like, okay, no, they can't draw a line to save their life, but they have ideas. And how valuable it is for artists like myself to be able to talk to somebody with ideas and be like, well, you have ideas, I have the skills, we can make that happen. Some of my best projects came from people who couldn't draw a stick figure, they claim. But that's why I'm here. Like, I'm just a set of skills, I'm a pair of hands that can make your ideas happen. And that's what's important. And so often, once you start here, it plants a seed and it just blows up into other things. So the easier or the quicker you can make it flexible earlier on, it's just so much easier on you. And it helps with that relationship, that artist creator, that artist client relationship, where they know that they have an entire archive of your content and your brand at the ready at any time. And they can just, on the drop of a hat, hey, I have an idea, let's do this thing, and be like, all right, cool, and just knock it out, and not have to deal with any middle people. And they can expect that consistency because, again, they built it earlier. Like, I built it earlier that way with that in mind. So all of the artwork looks the same. It all blends together. It all carries it across the brand. And that's something that I haven't really noticed a whole lot of, like, with... Not everybody does that, I guess. I kind of figured that out working with the first artist for my channel. Her first drawing set was Set My Mind on Fire. Yeah, see, there you go. I don't exactly know how I'm gonna tie the side of his little sideburn in. Anyways, this is where we're at so far. When you zoom out, you kind of see where we're at. You see those little microscopic choices being made. And you just gotta get used to doing that as you do it more. You know, you understand, like, well, in the big picture, this is how this is gonna look. It's kind of like the commercial kitchen. It's all about your prep. Yeah, that's a good point, dude. Because what happens if something goes different? What happens if something goes wrong? What if something changes? You know, like, I know you're working in fear, but it speaks in volumes about you as a professional when you already have something in place, like a fail-safe in place, to be like, oh, cool, and it's on the snap, switch it. Even if it's something you never would have expected, just having something in place to where you could be like, oh, okay, well, I could do that. It's almost like you knew it could happen. You know, like, it's almost like you've been there before. You know, and sometimes it doesn't take. It takes several projects or several attempts before you realize, okay, maybe I should have like a plan B. Maybe I should have that safety net. You know, just to save my time, because time is valuable, right? Especially in a prep kitchen. I imagine everything is valuable. Yeah, you got things ready to handle it on the fly. Exactly. I think it all translates across. Because sure, you have the client to think about and what's important to them, but do I like that? Or do I like it actually being a little, maybe, I like it. I think I liked it like that. But maybe not so pronounced. Yeah, I do like it. Okay. So I'm going to fine tune it and pick at it. Okay. So, another important rule that I've already broken. I've gone this entire thing.
Didn't save it because the devil's in there.
Yeah. I hadn't saved it yet. So, I need to do that. Playboy. Because I could say emote, but I have a feeling this is going to be used for other things too. So, Playboy. You know what? We'll just call it Playboy. It's not like I have a whole lot of other things in my hard drive specifically called that, so I'm not going to confuse it. Alright, so it's saved. Hooray! Save often. Now remember, I told you, always label and always be aware of your layers. Because wouldn't that be some shit if all of these lines were being drawn on the layer that my post-it note sketch, but it's not. See, but if it was, that wouldn't be that big of a deal. Actually, I could select it all and then deselect this image down here, and it wouldn't be that hard to fix. But but when you start coloring on the line layer, and you're like, son of a, and you don't have. In Vector, it's actually handy because everything is a unique shape, so you can select them independently. Another virtue about Vector, you're not stuck to just everything on that layer as being one object. Everything is independent, so you can, again, puzzle piece, rearrange everything. But a good practice is to keep your things separate. So remember, this was our sketch, and again, we have the opacity. What I did is basically I had it's a sticky note doodle that I did, right? I scanned it in, and this is just kind of a recap. I scanned it in, brought the opacity down to, I mean, not too much, but I don't even remember what it was, probably like 35 or something like that. Anyway, light enough to where I could still see it, but I could, and then I lock it. But kept it light enough to where dark enough to where I could still see it, but I could also see my lines clearly over it on a separate layer. So I'm just tracing using my mouse and the Illustrator pen tool, which I think most programs have a pen tool of some sort, and they universally work similarly. Like Photoshop still uses like rasterize or like pixel. I don't think it does. It might actually now. Adobe's always weird. They should just mix the two together, but they don't. But they do in pieces. It's stupid. But I digress. So we're gonna get down to right here. We're gonna work on. Is that what you meant by that kind of stuff? Oh wait, okay. Hold on. Let me go back. That's so cool. You can later set things like mods to make their hair blow in the wind or something. Is that what you meant by that kind of stuff? Yeah. So everything that I'm doing here, for example, if I wanted to turn him into an animation, I'm going to set this up because remember that duck poof? That part of his hair? I call it a duck poof. I hope he's not offended by that. With this little piece of hair right here, it's its own piece. I select it, I grouped it together, it's its own thing. And I'm not gonna, and I can set it up to where I could automatically fill, but I like some of the lines overlapping instead of connecting, so I'm gonna hand fill it anyway, so I'm not gonna do it that way anyways. But when it is, the coloring and the shading on this piece is going to be grouped with these lines, and it's going to be its own independent body part, so to speak, that I can go into Adobe Character Animator and I can add dongles, I can add weights to his hair, so that later on, as I animate, as I get all the layers and everything situated, and I map his skeleton, if this is as far as it goes. I mean, here's the thing. I'm thinking long ahead. This probably won't ever happen. It's up to him, really. But if he does, like, I want to be prepared. So I can add weights to, so whenever during the animations, it will naturally on its own, will compensate for the weight, and will bring his hair spikes and wiggle and make him move independently. It's just, a lot of it is just thinking ahead and seeing opportunities where, like, hey, this could be a thing, I better compensate for that. Ambro's still lurking and watching what's going on. I'm amazed, frankly. Thank you. Are you amazed about how much I have to say about the same thing over and over and over? Honestly, when I'm going through it verbally, I'm actually reteaching myself a lot of this stuff. But because it's been a year since I've talked about any of this in front of people. This is the first time I've ever done it, like, live, you know, outside of the Clever Kaiju group, because we have presentations that we do, but conventions are opening back up again, and we're trying to create content, and it's like I kind of needed this practice, apparently. But yeah, essentially I'm just taking a really rough sketch on a post-it note. Fun fact, because I do that. Potbelly Mammoth pretty much in its entirety, was like the concept artwork was all drawn on sticky notes or load tags from the factory, which I probably shouldn't have been drawing on, but you know, they were handy. And look, I have legit paper. Like I have stock. I have good stock. You know, I have Bristol board. You know, I have professional illustrators. You know, tools. But I mean, come on. Like sticky notes. They're so handy. In fact, the first Potbelly Mammoth book, a lot of those character sketches were on Post-it notes that I kept in my backpack for probably a year, and then I stuffed them in a folder somewhere, and then I was able to find them whenever I published the book and scanned them in. So you can see a lot of the base character sketches and the concept artwork and stuff on really shitty pieces of paper. My father-in-law, who's also an illustrator, I've had drawings on like weird like pieces of cardboard because I worked in a box factory. What? But he's looked at me and he's seen some of the drawings I was doing. And he goes, "Dude, we need to get you some like legit paper to draw on." I'm like, "I don't know. I kind of like Sharpies on cardboard. Like, you just see a blank space and a Sharpie, and I just want to draw on it. I kind of like it." Actually, one of the most satisfying thing to draw on is a Sharpie marker on duct tape. It's weird. It's a cool feeling. Like if you have some duct tape laying around and a Sharpie, just stretch it out like 3 or 4 lines, you know, on the table. And then just draw on it with a Sharpie. It's so satisfying. Even just writing on it. It's weird, but trust me. Give it a shot. Anyways, back to it. So I know that I'm going to want his goatee to be its own separate thing. Like, I want to be able to change it. And the reason why is because... Come on! Oh! Watery wind, buddy! Watery wind, what's going on, man? Thank you so much for the sub, dude. How are you? Please tell me you finished Valkyrie. I know you've been working on him for weeks. And that's only one of them, right? Like, you've been working on that same one for a while. Please tell me by the end of it. I had to leave. I had to cut out before you finished, but I had you on lurk. Please tell me you finished it. Because you got so close. You've gotten so good at that fight. I'm still at work, but wanted to pop in. Watery, I thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for the sub, dude. You are amazing. Actually, and this is cool because being over here, I have a keyboard. We're gonna give a shout out to Watery Wind. Awesome dude. Full of ideas and advice and inspiration for things. Bro, we got so close, almost had it. Oh no! No, because you were actually celebrating a lot of those moves that you were doing. Like you were getting into the groove of it, and then tragically everything just comes to a close. Did I do it wrong? Did I do it wrong? I think I did it wrong. Hold on, sorry. Huh. Is it, are the clips down again? Did we... That's unfortunate. Happy Tuesday indeed, man. Today is the very first Mammoth Press live art stream. This is the I mean, I do the arcade thing, but this is my meat and potatoes. This is what I do. This is you know, being a digital artist and designer. And today we're actually working on I'm actually doing a walkthrough of my process for doing a lot of illustration work for fellow streamers emotes. This one in particular is our boy Playboy. He commissioned me for a couple of emotes, and I'm going the long route doing this because he's one of those guys that has like a lot of ideas, and I want to be able to have something very flexible for him to mess with. So we're gonna do this. I'm gonna do a cartoon of him, but in like a designer's perspective. So I'm kind of walking through how I do that. We're in the line work stage right now. But when this is all said and done, Playboy should be able to take his brand and conquer the world. She wants a flawless fight, and it's so draining, dude. Like I guess there were things that she was throwing in, like certain movesets she was throwing in you hadn't seen, or certain combos you hadn't seen before, and you've been at that fight for weeks. Well, I guess you've been taking breaks, which is probably good. You handle the disappointment a lot better than I do. I'm mad for you, Water. I don't know why you guys do that. Like you and Connell both. You put yourself in these challenging games that. Now, granted, if anybody could do it, you could do it. Like I watched you nearly flawlessly play Contra, and that's one of the hardest games ever made. So I have faith that you can do it. But just because you can doesn't mean you should, man. Like who has the? Your tenacity is impressive, but man, it's almost foolish, you know what I mean? Alright, so I don't like how that line warped, so we're gonna smooth that out. Nah, I still don't like how that worked. No. There we go. I'm gonna grab this dot and bring it down here. It's a little too sharp. Too sharp. We're gonna do it again. No. See, I don't like that. Sometimes less is more. Let's find out. Getting the kid down for a nap. Be back soon, Connell. Man, we were just talking about you. Your ear must have been burning. Lines. I actually got a pretty decent response to the loading screen beatbox that I. Okay, we're gonna play with that. We're gonna try that. We're gonna try that. Okay. Again, we can change it. Because again, like the thing about his goatee, and I want to make it its own piece, its own separate part, because I'm going to be skewing it and changing the shape of it. Depending on the different emotions he wants me to use. So I'm right now I'm just drawing like a default Playboy face that I can then mess with and add like chibi effects to, or something, something. I have ideas, but I'm gonna do this way, and then that's kind of like the base template, and then just kind of adjust it however he needs, depending on what other features he wants to, what other emotions or ideas he has later on. But the good thing about this is that, yeah, it might cost a little, it takes more time, so it costs a little more in the beginning. In this case, he's helping me out a lot by giving me content to practice on stream, so, because we're flexible. You have to be. So I really appreciate you being so cool with this, Playboy. I appreciate that. Because it's something that, honestly, if this goes well, I'd love to do this more often. So I really feel like I need to bridge that gap, that Mammoth Press gap with the art. Okay, so I'm going to bring that here. I'm going to bring his little lip bit there. And then his bottom lip. Alright, so then that would mean this needs to go here. I don't know what's going on with the music. I think that's actually the song. heard this before, I thought. I'll probably get through the line work. At least. Because I know I've been... And I'll probably kick it around a little bit until I decide. Because once you see it in front of you, because you get the sketches done, and the sketching is cool. Like, the sketching is handy. But once you see it cleaned up in front of you, you kind of get the idea of, like, okay, like, like, already I can see some perspective. I wouldn't say issues, but differences that I didn't account for. See, that's already worlds better, just adjusting that one line. Of course, that's going to change this one, too. So, I can probably... Yeah. Isn't that cool? Every little thing can be adjusted without having to start all over. Like I said, it takes longer setting it up, and it takes practice. But once you know what you're going for and the results you want, all you have to do is just keep messing with it, and then it'll just make it do what you want. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder. Alright, so we're gonna save that. And then what's great is that, look at this. That entire goatee bit is all one piece. Well, actually, except for that. But I did that by choice. Again, I'm going to be hand coloring it, so it doesn't have to be... Oh, but it is. Look at that! Look at that. Isn't that cool? So that's the stroke version. If I wanted to, I could change that color to pink. Alright? See? Isn't that crazy? That is now a puzzle piece. It's its own individual puzzle piece that I can go in later and edit independently from everything else and not be affected. I can go in and let's say I wanted to, like, actually give him his chin. What if I wanted to get rid of his goatee and I wanted to give him a chin? Let's give him a chin. It's a little chin. I don't know what his chin actually looks like. He probably doesn't either. He's had a goatee for probably most of his life. Since he was a baby. No. But see, that's what I mean. It's like, if one day he wanted to do that, you would never know. But if he wanted to change it, alright, yeah, we'll get rid of the goatee. Delete. Layers. Shapes. Vector. See, this is fun. This is the stuff you... Find something you get nerdy about. and you love to just bother people with talking about. Find something that makes people go, oh, okay, nerd. Because that's when you know you're on the right track. That's when you know you're doing something right. It's like, all the possibilities. I could put his goatee anywhere, you know. Anywho. So yeah, let's and then again, because I did all that mess, doesn't matter. I can just go in and delete it, point by point. All one piece, drag it back on. Make a little, use the arrows, make a little bit of adjustments. Boom. Isn't that cool? It's cool to me, obviously. I love that. I love it when shit works. You know what I mean? Like when it's so satisfying. I'm gonna do the same thing with your eyebrows, dude. Actually, let's save this before I mess it up. I'm gonna do the same thing with your eyebrows. Because then we can do anything we want with them. And I mean anything. Don't worry. Nothing without consent. Alright, so... And this is why I kept this different before. Because I wanted to be able to mess with this separately. So really, I'm just making shapes. Making color blocks. Little puzzle pieces. And I will probably, actually, here's the thing. I will probably, in this case, I will connect these lines. So that there's some, if I do move it, there's not some blank space underneath that's kind of weird. Because I'm going to have to go in and do that anyways. but it's fine because if this is on a separate layer, or at the very least, I'll fill in with black now. I'll get the. I haven't figured out your color palette yet. I haven't gotten that far. I'll have it by the time we get to colors. I haven't figured out the color palette yet for you. I have an idea, but. And then we'll do this other eyebrow. Oh yeah, that's right. It's still in fill mode. Okay, there we go. And then see if I can get the angle I want from that. It kind of looks like I can. Anything that's too sharp, I don't really like the shape of. I can smooth it out, I can round it out, I can add whatever I want to it. Chef Boy, I'm sorry, I'm a little behind. Like Watery Wind, like the anime character that never gives up. Got to admire that kind of drive. Okay, yeah, no, you're right, but kind of wrong. It's just I can't imagine like. Did they do that on purpose? Or is it like the old school games where they design them to not be without any intentions of people actually beating them? They're like, who cares? It's just like they just do it like a base algorithm for their attacks without really any strategy as to how to beat them. It's just like, all right, well if they survive, good for them, because it's just easier that way. I don't know. Maybe it's a little too big. Maybe your eyebrow's a little too long. I want to. Alright, so if we were to. Okay. And again, I know it's not black. But I wanted to get the shape. And I think that's actually going to be fine. In fact, I'll probably do this. And I can, well, okay, there you go. In fact, these lines are now starting to. I've come to a point in this drawing where the line work's starting to. It's starting to show me how I feel about the specific shape of these lines, which I already figured I was going to change anyways. And I'll do that whenever I get the line work done. I'll show you what I meant by having like I already have like preset. I have preset modifiers that I'm going to add to these lines, and I'm going to do it as a whole because it's easier that way. Now I can do this by hand on the and just do it straight from the beginning. But in this case, I kind of wanted to show that you don't really need all that stuff. Like, you know, it's handy to have, and it's always something worth having if you can afford it, if you have the space for it. But I mean, I'm doing all of this with a mouse. And to be honest with you, when it comes to vector images, like using pen tool, it's just easier for me with a mouse. Probably just because that's the way I'm used to it. His eye might be a little big. Actually, I think I kind of like it. His eye might be a little big in this pose, but the emotes are going to be really small, right? So if I go too detailed, a lot of this stuff is going to get lost. It's going to look jumbled. So if I could put all the focus on his eyes and his facial expressions, I'm going to do that. Perspective-wise, his eyes are much bigger in proportion, and I could probably actually remedy that a little bit here. Actually, let's just delete that point and then stretch this one out a little bit. And that already looks better. Because I'm going to change those eyes a lot. If anything, I want this space available for his eyes no matter what I do with him. Because his eyes are going to change a bit. Every emote, his eyes are going to change. I already know that. And we're setting up for 2 as of right now. So I remember why I loose sketched. Because even if I don't, these eyes are going to change, but I do want the space available on his head for it. For whatever I get, whatever I decide to do as they come. Just planning ahead, you know. I don't know if I like that extra. Let me round that out a little bit more. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. Maybe smooth it out a little bit. We'll grab the old smooth tool and there we go. Okay. Save. So what do you think, Playboy? If you're you feeling it? Because here's the thing, man, and this is something that a lot of artists are really like apprehensive about doing caricatures and cartoons of people, because you know, not all caricatures have to be, you know, like everyone assumes that if you make a cartoon of somebody, you're going to take certain features that they may not feel that great about, and I don't know, make fun of them by it, and that's not the case. That's never, I mean, with some, but it's never the case with me. So I am. Fantastic. Woo! Thank you. I'm glad. See, that's still really relieving, because if you identify with it, if you're like, yep, that's all that's important. Me, however, I mean, I know, like, I had a caricature done at Six Flags a long time ago. And she's laughing because she was there too. And I had a caricature done, and I looked, it, honestly, here's the thing, I looked like me. It looked like me. I had a similar hairstyle to what you have at the time. And really dark complexion. I looked Hispanic. And which is, honestly, it's not inaccurate, I guess. I just never thought of it that way. Like, you know, I have a darker complexion. I have features. I mean, I have very, like, Cherokee features, because, you know, native blood, but yeah, I guess to just the general, to somebody who I've never met before, at face value, I looked like I was from Mexico. And I couldn't argue it. But it was notable, like, ah, look at that. How about that? That's how they translated me. Nugan, how are you, dude? Did I say that right? Is it Nugan? Or Nuggin? Taking a quick break from work. How about you? Dude, awesome to see you, man. I gave a, I think yesterday's stream or the stream before. Yeah, I think it was the stream before. I don't know if you were in there, but I thank you for the follow, dude. If I didn't officially say something before on a previous stream, I usually try to go through people that have shown some love, like, between streams that, you know, nugget, like nugget. Fantastic. Very well done. So oh, no problem, dude. So let me learn a little bit about you, man. Like, I've seen the name before, so I'm familiar with you, but I'm trying to remember what brought you to the stream. What brought you here? Probably different. It was probably the arcade cabinet, for sure. This is my first of many Potbelly Mammoth, or well, Mammoth Press / Potbelly Mammoth art streams, where I do artwork. In this case, I'm doing emotes for a streamer, our own streamer Playboy, who's in the chat. He commissioned me for a couple of emotes, and I was happy to oblige. See, do you stream? You stream. I think I've seen you. Yeah, you stream. Let's get a shout out to Nuggin. We did. I knew it. The round table. That's it. You're right, dude. Sorry, my memory's messed up.
You did have a brain injury.
I mean, yeah, I did have a brain injury, but it was kind of messed up before that too. Like, let's be honest. Car wreck did something, and I'm sure I'll suffer it. But I don't think the clips are working again. Oh, it wants to. Oh, wow. How long has Watery Winds tag been up? Yeah, I think we're having problems with the clips again. Dang it! At the beginning of the stream, it was working again. Yep, there it is. Yep. So, it was short-lived. I'm sorry, but I'm really glad that we had it when we did. Twitch Guru has been a little funky lately. Dude, honestly, they probably don't have the server to support just how much we bombard them for these clips. Like, I don't think they imagined it was going to take off like it did. Because everybody uses them now. I don't envy what they're... it's probably only a matter of time before they start charging for the service, because everybody's using it. And it's a great thing. I could do an entire stream doing shout-outs. So, I'm sorry for the shout-out clips not working. Now, this is just a default mouth thing that I haven't really decided on. In fact, I'm probably just going to turn this into a shape. Hold on. So I can adjust it later. Getting in real close. Alright, so... Alright, so I'm making a separate shape that I'm going to turn into... There we go! And that way, I can change his actual mouth movements any way I want later on. I seem like I'm investing in this, like, long term, but I just feel better about it doing it this way. And like I said, just watching this hopefully inspires more, not just from him, but from all of you, like... And I promise again that the process actually goes a bit quicker than this. I actually have pretty impressive turnaround. But I'm not actually, nerding out and explaining everything every step of the way. Regardless, thanks for the shout out. How's the day going, man? It's going great. I was actually really nervous about this stream. Normally I do the arcade thing. Which is kind of my entry into the streaming world, right? It was my boy that inspired me to, because when I built the arcade cabinet, I designed it and built it, and then I started doing YouTube videos about the games that I like to play on it, and interviews with other creators and entrepreneurs. And it was actually my boy that, it was around the time COVID kind of, well, it was, I built it, leave it to me to build a 4-player cabinet during COVID, during a pandemic, but he was like, have you considered playing it online live, like through Twitch? So, was it 5 months ago? I think we're working on 5 months. Here we are. But I was one of those things where it's like, I'm an artist first, and designer first. I want to try and bridge that gap. I don't want to muddy the waters too much, I don't really know how I feel about it. I'll probably do that in the color. I don't think I'll actually do the hard lines for that. I think those details here, I don't know if you see that, but I have like the flow of his hair moving upward to that point. I have it lined out, but I'm probably going to do that with like shading, like in the coloring. If not, I could always add the lines. But again, like I said, everything I've done is on its own layer. All line work. And it's simple right now. Mac of Philly, thank you for the follow, dude. What brings you in? I don't recognize the name. It's a habit that I try to get to know everybody who hops in. Good to meet you. Good to see you. I am native Mammoth Press. I'm a graphic designer and illustrator. Today we are working on some emotes for a fellow streamer, Playboy. He had commissioned me for, I guess he's wanted to, we're looking for opportunities for rebranding, so to speak, I think. I've done some artwork for him before, and a few other streamers. And so I thought, you know what, that'd be the first time I ever did a live stream of my day-to-day. And what better to share it with than fellow streamers on stream. But my normal stream is on the Mammoth Press Multicade, an arcade cabinet that I designed and built. Everything from classic arcades and retro consoles, even some modern Steam games that I Steam link across, like Mortal Kombat 11 and all that. So welcome in. You're actually popped in on the Mammoth's first art stream. Because I do this is my day to day. This is what I do normally, and you know, or I'm working on the stream. But typically, this is what I do during the day before I go on stream over there. And this works out pretty good. I like this. Like if I were to give a review of the setup, I understand why you guys like to stream like this. Because having a keyboard, you have everything at your fingertips, you know. I mean, I like my setup over there, but having an arcade cabinet over here and then like all the streaming gear off to my side, it's kind of hard for me to, you know, the Stream Deck helps a lot. But I didn't know this was your first art stream. I just thought you played games and did art in here. Yes, but I do. That's probably me in a nutshell, man. Yeah. Like I said, the arcade cabinet was my foot in the door, and it's like, as much as I love the games, and it took my art skills to design and build it. I knew eventually that it's like, well, I'm aspiring like art teacher. I do a lot of panels. Back when, before COVID, during conventions, I would do panels teaching, illustration and cartooning and animation. And a lot of the people that I would meet up with and talk with directly, well, we couldn't meet face to face anymore. So it's been a weird transition for me to go strictly online. And so the arcade cabinet gave me that, like, scheduled on a regular basis to go out and talk to people and play games. And I talk about art a lot. And the communities I'm a part of know that I'm an artist, and they've commissioned me for artwork off stream. But I figured it was probably about time that I'd kind of bridge that gap. So this is the real me. This is the Mammoth Den. This is Mammoth Press LLC. This is where I'm most valuable, I think. Because you don't come to the stream to watch me play games like I know what I'm doing. Like, you're not there to learn how to play these games. I mean, I'll tell you a lot about how the games were made and the creators and the artists that made them. I know a lot of that stuff. That's the Mammoth fun fact thing that I like to drop a lot. But Twitch Guru is broken for everyone right now. Yeah, it was working just fine at the beginning of the stream, like 2 hours ago. But as much as they get hit, it's no surprise. Like, Ambro, Macaphilly, and Nougat. Okay, so Macaphilly, were you in? Or you're part of Ambro's crew then, right? Like crowd, right? So were we in an artist roundtable together too? Because Nuggin is the first time I got to hang out with him, and he was at an artist roundtable, and I remember he brought it up, and I remember that's where we meet. Okay, that makes sense. I'm just Mike's hype man. Everyone needs a hype man. Everybody does. Well, awesome to have you. I'm glad to hang out with you guys. It's really cool. So, the process of the line work is pretty much done. Now, his eyebrows, I'm not going to keep them black like that. I just wanted to let you. I just wanted to see how the shape language worked, because for his eyebrow. Like I said, I finished that. Now here's something that I want to show you. And actually, yeah, all right. This is something I want to show you. This is what I was talking about before. Because before, just a recap of what we've done today. And really, the line work is probably the most time-consuming part of this whole thing, because every line is different. Every line is special. No, okay. Yet I just spent the whole time saying nothing's permanent. It can all go. So we went through with a pen tool, and we just basically traced over this here. This, I have it locked out right now. But hold on. Okay. So this right here, sticky note sketch, right? That I had in my pocket. Scanned it in, brought it into Illustrator. Made its own separate layer, made that a sketch layer. And you can do anything with it. And then I bring the opacity down, not too light, but light enough to where it doesn't distract me, but I can still see it clearly. I can still see the line work. So I lock it so I don't make sure not to draw it. This is then I made 3 more layers. This is flats and shade, which we don't have yet. We'll have that next stream. And then we have Playboy's lines, and that's where we were doing with the Illustrator pen tool. Oh great, see I moved. All right, so let me register this back in. Okay, there we go. See, if anything gets out of place because it's separate layers, layers. Label your layers. Because if anything gets out of skew, everything's separate. Everything can be adjusted. All right, so there we go. And I'm gonna lock that layer again. So this is what we have for Playboy's line work. Now it's very simple. It's kind of crude, and it'll adjust as we go. But this is something I want to show you. It's something I wanted to take a minute to show you guys, is that I knew that I wasn't going to use this shape of line, and what I mean is this. Hold on. Okay, so you have this line, and this is how the lines work, and this is why it's so important. This is how vector is different from traditional like Photoshop, which I've gone through a couple times already, but I'll never I don't think I could ever stress it enough. Is that with like Photoshop, a line is a series of pixels, which is tiny pictures, packed together to make a bigger picture. The more tiny pictures are packed into that big picture, the clearer it is and the more flexible it is. Those pixels, the more pixels there are, the more flexible the whole image is. And the sheer size. Is that what is that? Is that my phone? No. Oh, Siri heard me talking. She was describing pixels. Anyways, with vector, it doesn't work in pixels. It works in points and lines. That's it. Which is why you can go as tiny as a stamp or as big as a building, and it won't skew or pixelate when it gets that big, because it doesn't use pixels. It doesn't use tinier images to make up the bigger one. It doesn't have to fill in the gaps. You know what I mean? So the shape of this line. Oh, McAfee redeemed Bob Ross wisdom. I can help you out there, my friend. Absolutely. Switch it up. Awesome to have you. Right out the gate with some Bob Ross wisdom. Excellent use of your points, sir. So how this works is, simply put, because I'm a huge Bob Ross fan. In fact, it's actually heartbreaking that the clips don't work, because I follow him on Twitch. Bob Ross has a Twitch channel, and he has clips. And I every now and then will give a Bob Ross shout out, and it'll play a Bob Ross clip, and they're usually the funny ones. So, is it still down? Is it still down? Is it? I don't know. I can't tell. Let's try it. We'll see what happens.
My horizon. Draw.
Oh, but it's not actually Bob. It's one of his guests.
Soft line. When you do a horizon, make sure you have a straight line. Straight.
We'll try it again. We'll try it again. And with that, we'll also catch up on the other shout-outs that I haven't been able to do. Try it again. In fact, I'm going to shut the music off.
All right, now I've already covered the canvas with a thin, even coat of magic white, so it's wet, slick, ready to go. And let's get started. I'm going to start out right here with a small amount of Indian yellow.
Isn't that cool? Bob Ross. I can shout out Bob Ross. Like, if he was alive right now, do you think, God, could he even put it together? Like, wouldn't that be insane? Anyways, what I like to do is this little segment, a little bobblehead dude that has a lot of cool one-liners. And this cool, I keep him on the arcade. He's kind of my inspiration, so to speak. He's kind of a big deal around here. So, for all of you, on behalf of Mac of Philly, am I saying that right? Mac of Philly? Mac, are you from Philly? Is that Is your name Mac? I'm putting it together now. Okay. So, yep, right on. So, Mac of Philly. Here's some Bob Ross love.
And that may be the true joy of painting, is when you share it with other people. I really believe that's the true joy.
I agree. Such wise words, Bob. It's like he gets me. It's a perfect quote, actually, for what I did today. Because this is a lot of fun. I'm just gonna go over a couple more details and then show you what I mean, and then we'll rate out. I don't actually know who's on at this time of day, so it'll be fun. So thank you for the redemption. Always love showing up, Bob Ross. So what I was saying before is that these lines are basically just points and segments in between. And again, you can select those points and then grab a handle and skew it to change it however you want. See? You can arc it and change it, do weird things. But that's not all you can do, because by default there's that square block, right? You take that line, you have options up top, which you probably can't see right now, but I have presets, some of which are built in. I have my own presets too, which I think this version is not translated. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But you can also taper those lines too. You see? So that same line, by just selecting like that line and then selecting, let's go with that shape. What does this shape look like? See, you can't do this with like Photoshop line work. You know, you have to do that yourself, which is fine. I mean, like when you have pressure sensitivity on like these, like I said, I got this 27-inch drawing screen over here. Like I have another monitor over here that I draw directly on with this. And I mean, and I typically do this stuff with this anyways, you know, hand drawn stuff, but it's interesting what all you can do with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the line work that we just did and I'm going to apply this, because this is basically like a more natural looking brushstroke, like as if it was more hand drawn than just the straight block. I'm going to have to lurk now. I have to work. I have work meeting I have to hop onto. Dude, Nuggin, sorry. Thank you so much for being here, dude. Awesome to hang out with you. Awesome to meet you. I hope to see more of you. And in fact, I got... If it's running... I thought you streamed. Am I mistaken? I thought you were a streamer. Mac of Philly, do you stream as well? I mean, you were both in the round table, so yeah, of course, you know, I was talking, but I didn't do. Maybe it's unless. Damn it! I'm an idiot. I had it. Okay. Let's try it again. My bad. I say I knew you did. I knew you did because we just talked about it, and I, you know, now that I know where I know you from. Okay.
I don't even know how to kill her.
I had it.
Holy shit.
Oh, Smash Brothers.
Oh, red. Let's go. Let's go.
And shout out Mac of Philly. Wow. I am sucking it up. Sorry. I'm used to just hitting a button on my stream deck and try it again. Hit the wrong one.
This one that's called Hyper Pop. I think that's the one that I was looking for right before I opened this one. I don't remember what this sounds like, so don't expect much, because I made this 10 days ago and I don't remember how it sounds. Oh, I wanted to...
That's cool.
And then it goes to this little arpeggiator part.
Dude, I want to hear more of that. I'm going to have to absolutely... Here. Mac of Philly. Give me just a second. I'm gonna give you a follow right now as we speak, my friend.
Whatever you want.
Right there. I dropped you a follow, man. I want to hear more of what you do. Do you provide music for like to services or streams or to people? Do you do commission work? Because I bet original content is always awesome for content in general, like online content. Let's see, I'm gonna lift this up a little bit more. Yeah, like that. Woo! Give it a little bit of shape. All right, there we go. So, all right, so we're gonna save this. And remember before, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take all this line work. Probably not that, because that, okay, there we go. I'm going to group, I'm not going to group it, because so many of these are different pieces. I'm going to take all of this, and I'm going to change these lines. I'm going to change them, first of all, I'm going to probably give them a little bit more weight. Let's see what a 2-point stroke. Okay, so see, now it's a little thicker. You see? It's heavier now. You see the difference? Now, normally this would be a little too heavy for me, in my opinion. Unless I was doing animation for like TV or something. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, but I'm going to contour the lines. I'm going to choose this line width profile here. And look at that. It looks more naturally. Now there's going to be little things here and there that I'm going to adjust. Pretty normal, but I like that natural brushed look. It looks like I drew it with a brush pen, because honestly that's kind of the art style I have when I draw traditionally. Whenever I do commissions like traditional, I draw with a brush pen. I do my line work and then I go in with a brush pen, and so having those strokes and those contours helps a lot, and it looks really cool. But you know, by the time I get the colors in, I might change it. I might change my mind. So when that happens, remember, layers. So I really like the way that's shaping up. I think all the contours of the lines is positioned exactly where I want it. It feels natural to me. And yeah, I'm trying to set up a playlist for streamers to use for free. Dude, that's good work, man. And I've done a commission or two. That's got to be cap. No cap. It's Bubbles. I'm glad you're sticking around. Thank you so much. So you can already see that this is a little. See, now that we have the lines and the ways they'll. Remember, this is different. Remember, that's a separate piece. So I can see that this is a little offset more than I want, because the base sketch, it looked okay. It was a rough sketch, but I'm gonna just move it to the right a little bit. We'll nudge it over a little bit, because we took the time. Because this is what I'm talking about. I took the time to build this separately. It takes more time, but when it's all said and done, at certain points I can look at it and be like, well, that's not quite what I had in mind. Well, then we'll fix it. We'll bring it over, right? We'll bring it over, and then look at that. We just grab that point there, tie it over. So that's how far we brought it. Bring it up. You know what? I don't even need that line. I'll delete it. And we can just make little adjustments here. And if I feel like, you know what, I kind of like that back the other way, I could do that. In fact, I can actually take this little piece, like it's its own little body part, and I'm going to rotate it just a little bit. Nah, I kind of like it like that. Yeah, it's better for the contour. You see what I mean? Little adjustments like that. I'm always going to be nitpicking this thing, but I can now, because I took the time to build it separately and build it uniquely to where it has its own little rules that doesn't affect anything else. And that's the joy of what I do and why I do it the way I take the extra time to do all this the way I do. It takes extra time. This is me. I'm an illustrator. I'm a cartoonist, but this is me being an illustrator, but with a designer brain, if that makes sense. This is not just a cartoon. This is actually a logo now. You know, this is branding. This can be anything. This can be an animation puppet. This can be a t-shirt or a lunchbox, or that's how I embrace artwork. That's how I identified as Mammoth Press. So we're gonna send this, or save this, and then we're gonna send this stream off to somebody else. We're gonna go raiding. Next stream, I'm gonna shoot for next Tuesday. I think Thursday would be cool. Maybe Thursday. I'm not sure. But at the very least, I think every Tuesday at 2 we can do that. I have podcasts tonight, but not every Tuesday. So Tuesdays and Thursdays are going to be the days I'm going to be shooting for live stream, because I'm going to be doing this stuff anyways. This is my day to day. So so hopefully I'm going to shoot for Thursday, if not at the very latest next Tuesday. But let's shoot for Thursday. We'll get the colors in. Maybe even get it off. Maybe get the colors and the shading in. Unless, of course, Playboy, since this is yours, if you can afford the time, is that okay with you if we stretch this out to another stream? Because if you need these now, I can knock them out. That's no problem. Like, this is you indulging me. So if you're here, you just let me know. Okay? Like, if that's fine. Okay. But anytime you reach a point where you're like, oh, okay, I don't plan this to take more than like 3 streams at most. Maybe 4 to like make all the extra adjustments. So I know I'm taking my time with it because I'm having fun with this. But what's important is what you need. So if you need these sooner, you let me know. I can knock them out. But in the meantime, I want to thank everybody for being here. This is a great first art stream. But I will be back on the multicade behind me. I don't know what she's doing. She's wrecking my house. But I'm going to be back on the multicade tomorrow. It's Way Back Wednesday, where I will be continuing and hopefully finishing Super Mario World, the SNES game, on the Mammoth Press multicade. But until then, I will see you. Oh! Today is... Okay, never mind. So let's find out. Let's see who's on. Let's see... Let's see who is on. Oh, you know what? Who is on? I gotta mute this. Oh, you know what? Who is on? I'm gonna do something really cool. This is awesome. Let's raid Captain Fish Paste. Because I'm during the day. Our friends in the UK, this is their evening. They just got off work. Oh, I forgot about that. Okay, so we're gonna let's go raid across the pond. Let's go kick in the door and raid Captain Fish Paste. That'd be sweet. All right. I gotta remember how to do it the old way. I gotta figure out how to... Make sure I spell it right. Alright, so... CPT, fish, paste. Alright, now don't judge me, because I haven't done it with a keyboard before, so I'm wondering if I got the commands right. Because I always did it with the Stream Deck or on my phone. So anyway, thank you very much. Much love to all of you. I had a great time. This has been a lot of fun. This has been like exactly the kind of start I needed to get stream artwork going. And it's going to be a regular thing. Again, thank you to Playboy for letting me do this. This is so cool. It's a lot of fun. You're a great friend. Anybody else, I'm open. I'm taking commissions. Anybody else who wants some emotes, and I've already done a handful from others, so this is a regular thing for me. Anyways, let's go raid Captain Fish Base.